My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to the Property Profits Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for the fearless Dave Dubow. And if you've ever wondered how one person turned the I should really do something real estate moment into a thriving portfolio of short-term rentals, our guest today, Ryan Cushman from the scenic Southeast, has done just that. Stay tuned as he shares insights from his journey, from the unique financing methods to navigating challenges in the market. Ryan, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Bryce. Happy to be here. Appreciate you.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into the short-term rental space? Because that's emerged and people enjoy it, but how did you get started in that? Did you start in that right away or?
Yes, I did. It was really my kind of first foray into real estate investing. I graduated college in '09 when it was kind of the throes of the financial crisis. And basically from that time going forward, I was trying to figure out my best path forward in finding alternate ways of bringing income into our family, setting myself up for financial independence at some point. Basically having a hard time finding my path in real estate. I got connected to a well-known real estate investing podcast probably in 2018 or so. Loved the stories, loved how inspiring they were, and was amazed by how many different channels and opportunities there were within real estate, but couldn't quite find what made sense to me or what clicked for me until I discovered an episode that spoke about short-term rentals, and it was just this kind of, yeah, of course that works. A major light bulb moment for me. We go down to the Panhandle of Florida all the time, and we would see these amazing Airbnbs and VRBO homes down there, and like, wow, this would be so amazing to own a property down here. Never really moving forward until I kind of got a kick in the pants by a podcast episode talking about it. So within a few months, I got our first one under contract, and it's been kind of just running at it as hard as I can since then.
Yeah. So you're primarily operating your short-term rentals in the state of Georgia, correct?
The Southeast. So we have 3 in the Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area, 2 in northern Georgia, and 1 on the Panhandle of Florida.
So is that, because we spoke before the show, as we always do,
Yeah.
You've been a realtor for how long? And was that something that you took on after you got into short-term rentals or before?
So yes, I've been a realtor for a little over a year now. So I am still fairly new, but I've been real estate investing for over 3 years now, and I'm working to leverage my expertise in my successes in short-term rental management and operations in helping others develop, their strategy in short-term rentals in the North Georgia area.
So what were you doing before real estate?
I mean, I've worked for a number of large multinational companies. I actually still to this day retain a W-2 job working for a company called RealPage, which is a property management and real estate investing, a kind of enterprise level software solution provider. And ultimately, my goal is to be able to have enough, extra income or income from other sources so that I don't need to have that W-2. In the meantime, it's a nice to have for sure, because it allows me to qualify for loans and have an easier time with lending.
Yeah, because I mean, people tend to kind of downplay the W-2. They're like, oh, right, it's so bad having a job and being able to qualify for loans. Like God forbid that
Right.
get it qualified for a loan. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do. And especially, I talked to a guy yesterday. his whole plan is to keep his W-2 because he loves his job and just build up his long-term portfolio. So it's really,
Yeah,
that's what I love about real estate is the flexibility of the strategy and how you can use it to build wealth and income. So what
absolutely.
is it that you like the most about the short-term rental space?
The thing that I like the most about it is kind of the turbocharged nature of the cash flow.
Hmm.
As I had mentioned earlier, where I'd listened to podcast episodes about house hacking or multifamily deals, and making $100 a door and $200 a door. Those all sounded amazing for folks that had been at it for a number of years and had
Hmm.
lots of doors. But as a budding real estate investor, that just sounded daunting to me. Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta come up with 20% for $200 a door. That I couldn't figure out what path made sense for me. That's hardly going to make a dent in getting me to my goal of being able to kind of live free, right?
Hmm.
Um, and this is not to say that strategy doesn't work, because clearly it does, but
Hmm.
uh, it wasn't for me. And so running at short-term rentals where the profitability and the cash flow is a lot greater, and bear in mind it comes with it's a lot more high touch than
Hmm.
long-term rental investing. But this was the path that I could see that would, within 5 or 10 years, be a major difference maker in allowing me to um, retire early, or have financial independence at a much faster clip.
Yeah, and I mean, some people will argue, oh, you just got yourself a job, but you picked it. So, if you enjoy short-term rentals, it's not for everyone, just like long-term
Right.
rentals isn't for everyone. That's what's so great about real estate. You can kind of pick what it is that you want to do in the business and do that. So, what do you find to be the most challenging part of it? What isn't so great about short-term rentals?
Um, the thing that isn't so great is the fact that you can be disrupted, when you're trying to have a peaceful time. I find myself in the last couple of years having a harder time really unplugging, because I can't really yet.
Yeah.
As I build my business out a little bit more, I'm going to need to hire VAs, and I'm actually looking at hiring a kind of a co-host, a VA co-host, to allow me to be able to step back a little bit more than I do currently.
Hmm.
But if I'm on a vacation where I'm out of cell service for 6, 7, 8 hours during the day, that gives me a little bit of anxiety. So that's probably the toughest part, because I don't know if I'm missing kind of crucial messages from guests that they're
Yeah.
needing a response, or they're needing a solution, or there's um, some sort of thing that needs my immediate attention, in order to help them out and make sure they're having a good stay, because they paid for a vacation, right, with me, and
Hmm.
it's my job to do what I can to make sure they're getting their money's worth. So that's probably the hardest part, um, albeit that is few and far between. 99% of the time, it's no big deal. I'm around. It's during those times when I want to kind of get away, um, or have some, or I have other obligations going on, that having having the pings from messages can be very disruptive from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. The only way I can get out of my head when I'm doing that is I just remember there was a time where pagers didn't exist and cell phones didn't exist, and when
Right.
you left the house, you were just out, and we all survived. We,
Yeah.
we're all
Yep.
still here. So,
Yep.
it can be a little bit of a challenge to, especially adopting it in today's technological era that
Right.
people did survive with when they left the house for 8 hours and they got their messages still. So, have there been
Absolutely.
any major challenges you've had to overcome so far in your real estate journey?
Um, our biggest challenges have really probably been, a couple of our more recent acquisitions have been underperforming. We acquired them this year, and demand for short-term rentals has e- uh, possibly declined, but probably a bigger function of that is that the supply has greatly increased.
Mm-hmm.
So between demand cooling or even going down from the major boom of 2020 and 2021 and even into 2022 to a more leveling off of demand for short-term rentals and an increased amount of supply of short-term rentals. Our two most recent properties have not performed as well as our earlier properties.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that they still won't make for good investments, but it's been a slow year for those two especially. They also don't have kind of the track record of tons of 5-star reviews to help buoy them up in kind of the search rankings. So as we are pulling out of kind of the first year of those properties, we're optimistic about their performance going forward. But it's been a slow year, a slow burn of a year for those newer properties for us.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's you make a good point about the supply and demand of things. Like they're kind of vacation rentals. So, you end up people's amount of disposable income might be where the clientele is just saying, you know what, maybe we just won't go on vacation this year. So
Right. Yep.
When it comes to real estate investing, what would you say is your secret sauce? What is it that comes easily to you that other people might find difficult to do?
My secret sauce really is having all my systems really dialed in on the front end with the optimization tools that are available to short-term rental owners and operators. It's easy to, I mean, it's a little bit of work up front, but then as you have these tools and these systems in place to really hone in on your automated messaging, your auto responses, it does make this fairly high touch operation less high touch. It allows you to not necessarily have to engage with every inquiry or response right away, which allows you to kind of not get so stressed out about every message that comes in. And infusing a little bit of comedy in my messaging, and even in some of my my messaging that I have posted on the walls in our property, having kind of funny Wi-Fi codes and stuff like that. Just all it improves or increases the experience for the guests, which in turn leads to more and more 5-star reviews, which in turn increases our standing on the platforms and allows for better visibility on Airbnb and VRBO, et cetera.
Nice. So, where do you want to go in the future? What are your goals, aspirations for your real estate business? Where do you see yourself in 12 months?
As I continue to build out, so my goals for the next 12 months to even 2-3 years down the road is to continue to build out and optimize our short-term rental portfolio. This year, since we've already acquired 2 this year, it's been kind of a save and optimize set of or back 3/4 of this year to gear up for our next acquisition in probably sometime in Q1 or Q2 of next year. So continuing to save, set money aside, also continuing to analyze deals that that show up on the MLS. Ooh, this property looks good. If I was ready, I'd consider making an offer on this one, just so that you're keeping yourself sharp on what a good property looks like, so that you can kind of recognize that quickly. And then kind of as far as optimization goes, as the landscape for short-term rentals has become more and more competitive with an increased amount of supply, it's become increasingly important to make sure you're standing out in good ways, making sure you've added as many amenities that make sense financially to add. It's hard to add a pool to a property. That's a huge expense, but other little stuff that's less expensive that can make your property stand out can go a long way. So continuing to do some of that work with our existing portfolio so that we can perform well going forward. And then lastly, just kind of building out my foundation as an agent who understands the Georgia market and who understands and specializes in short-term rentals, so that I can continue to offer value to would-be and current investors in our area. So those are my go forward plans and aspirations.
Yeah, a lot of time people want to get into the business, especially short-term rentals, but they're not really sure how to do the numbers or where the numbers
Right.
come from, and how real is air DNA and all these things. Like the different data points that you can use. It's like, okay, sure, is that a real number? Are we actually going to get that? Do people even care? Stuff like that. So, we like to talk about capital on this show as we shift gears here a little bit. What are you doing right now to finance these deals?
Yeah, so I have largely been actually for all of our properties so far, we've executed with 10% down second home loans. Those have become less favorable to use in the last 12 months or so. They come with a higher amount of points that you have to put down, and the interest
Yeah.
rates are even less favorable than standard homeowner financing. But so two of my properties I purchased myself. The rest have been partner properties where my partner is bringing the lending, the financing, and the bulk of the down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we still have opportunities that those may still make sense going forward if we utilize them in a smart way. And fingers crossed, some of these interest rates start to come down. Really, it comes down to interviewing handful of lenders to make sure you're kind of getting the best deal, the best rate, the best product that's available to us. But those have been what we've used so far, and we will probably continue to try to do so unless it just doesn't make sense from a points and interest rate standpoint.
Yeah. So is that when you get looking at that strategy, is it just one money partner, or do you have access to several people to keep buying, or what does that look like as far as leveraging your existing network?
Yeah, we have so far on 3 of the properties I've partnered with my brother, who has made good income in the tech industry. And then my 6th and most recent partnership is a network or some folks that we met through doing stuff like this, and my Instagram presence. And so with both of them, it is potentially a go back to them for additional opportunities and financing new deals going forward. But yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah. So you've got like you're at the friends and family,
right,
and you're getting a little bit outside of that network. What
exactly.
have you found to be most effective to keep in touch with your investor prospects?
Um, I really kind of encourage those prospects to just engage with me on Instagram. That's where I've kind of tracked my investor journey. That's where I'm trying to build out my network of and building my reputation as a trusted real estate agent, and then also potentially investor partner on that platform. So that's really how I've been doing it so far. And then as that relationship has gotten closer, obviously we stay in contact, whether it's phone, email, text, or whatever going forward.
So as far as your philosophy for finding deals, are you a find the deal and get the money, or do you prefer to have your capital lined up and then go looking for deals?
Yeah, well, I find myself being continually on the go look for deals, even when I don't have my financing lined up. Just to my point earlier of always being sharp, staying sharp about my analyses and being able to recognize a good deal. But I mean, truly, yeah, we're working toward being prepared financially so that we can really move quickly on that great deal when it shows up.
Okay. And so, you've been dealing with friends and family, kind of so far as the capital and JV partners. When
Mhm.
when you present your deal to a possible investor, what does that kind of look like when you, or how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I generally will run a given deal through my own calculator.
Mm-hmm.
I maintain a kind of a pro forma deal calculator that I built out myself.
Mm-hmm.
Having been in finance in a prior life, I find I'm pretty handy with Excel. So I built that out and will run enter all the information, the pertinent information as far as how I think a property is going to perform, putting that up against what a given property's expenses and then also building out a couple of scenarios where it's going to underperform what AirDNA says, it's going to outperform AirDNA says, etc. And seeing if those scenarios are tenable, as and valuable and worthwhile, making the investment in this property. And then sharing that with the folks that I've built rapport with that would potentially be great investor partners. Along with additional context around this neighboring property is doing X per night and looks to be X% occupied, and so that's why I feel good about this property performing at this level. So it's really kind of diving deep on the analysis, and then sharing those findings as as I'm able to kind of lay them out to potential investors. And having experience in a number of these markets, I can point to my own property successes,
Mm-hmm.
and use those heavily as benchmarks in those markets.
Yeah. And so like I love the way you said there is like using your own properties to benchmark the properties that you're bringing to the table. Um, for most people, to invest significant amounts of money with anyone, they need to like know and like and
Yeah.
trust you. So, how do you go about doing those things, with say your social or your interactions? How do you go about building those things currently?
Yeah, I try to be as transparent about my journey as possible, even to the point of sharing how my properties have performed in the last 12 months or 24 months, so that the proof is right there, and being able to also point out tips and tricks of the trade, for potential investors. Everyone who looks at my page may not end up being a client of mine, but at least they will have recognized me as somebody who brought them value in some way, shape, or form. And then, at some point down the line, maybe that means something more as far as my relationship with that person. So that's really what I strive to do, and provide little nuggets of value, and be transparent and honest, and that's the only way
Mm-hmm.
to operate, I'd say.
Great. Now, if people want to find out more, connect with you, they want help, they want to buy a property, and run it as a short-term rental. What kind of, what does that look like to work with you on a purchase as a realtor, for a short-term rental property? Like if I'm saying, oh, I'm interested, maybe I'm out of state. What does that look like? How can you help me?
Yeah. Well, if you want to, I guess, kind of screen me or get to know me a little bit, you can certainly find me on EXP's website. I'm licensed and brokered through EXP, but
Mm-hmm.
you can also find me on Instagram, where I post intermittently, under the handle of Cushman_REI.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I'm available to help you talk through and learn about the various markets within the North Georgia area. And you're welcome to kind of pick my brain on what areas are probably the best kind of areas to look for an investment property there. I have a couple in North Georgia, and so I'm happy to share my successes there, and maybe that lines up with what you're looking for. And then as we work through the purchase process,
Mm-hmm.
um, I am happy to work with you on leveraging my network in these markets to get you set up with cleaners,
Mhm.
handy people, and whatever other kind of helpful resources that you need operating from out of state so that you can feel comfortable um, with that process on a go forward basis. So really, I'm here to kind of help you be successful because that reflects well on me, obviously, and then I, of course, want my clients to take this to the moon for sure.
Yeah, and make money because essentially you're starting a tiny hotel. So,
Right.
um, if people want to find out more and connect with you, what's that? You gave us the Instagram handle.
Yeah.
Is there any other way that you want people to reach out to you on your cell or on a
Sure.
website somewhere?
Yeah. Cushman underscore REI on Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me. But if you want to get a hold of me, I guess faster or more direct, you can reach me on my cell number, 678-472-7447. Happy to connect with you there if you have questions, concerns, comments, or want to start looking at properties in North Georgia. So would love to
Awesome,
connect.
awesome. Well, if you're listening at home, give them a ring because I always believe that real estate agents and people who are investing, um, the buying agent is important, being able to run the numbers. And even if you're already running your numbers, having someone else check your numbers again too, and show you what the realities of that market are is really important when you're making investment decisions. Ryan, love having you on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Bryce, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
No problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.